Welcome to 10 Minutes a Day, a daily reading of the Catholic Church's social encyclicals. Today we continue with Mater et Magistra, written by Pope John XXIII in 1961. Contributory cause of this movement away from the country is doubtless the fact that farming has become a depressed occupation. It is inadequate both in productive efficiency and the standard of living it provides. Nearly every country, therefore, is faced with this fundamental problem. What can be done to reduce the disproportion in productive efficiency between agriculture on the one hand and industry and services on the other, and to ensure that agricultural living standards approximate as closely as possible those enjoyed by city dwellers, who draw their resources either from industry or from the services in which they are engaged? What can be done to persuade agricultural workers that, far from being inferior to other people, they have every opportunity of developing their personality through their work and can look forward to the future with confidence? It seems to us opportune to indicate certain directives that can contribute to a solution of this problem, directives which we believe have value, whatever may be the historical environment in which one acts. Our condition, obviously, that they be applied in the manner and to the degree allowed, suggested, or even demanded by the circumstances. In the first place, considerable thought must be given, especially by public authorities, to the suitable development of essential facilities in country areas, such as roads, transportation, means of communication, drinking water, housing, health services, elementary, technical, and professional education, religious and recreational facilities, and the supply of modern installations and furnishing for the farm residents. Such services as these are necessary nowadays if a becoming standard of living is to be maintained. In those country areas where they are lacking, economic and social progress is either prevented or greatly impeded, with the result that nothing can be done to retard the drift of population away from the land, and it even becomes difficult to make a good appraisal of the numbers involved. If a country is to develop economically, it must do so gradually, maintaining even balance between all sectors of the economy. Agriculture, therefore, must be allowed to make use of the same reforms in the method and type of production and in the conduct of the business side of the venture as are permitted or required in the economic system as a whole. All such reforms should correspond as nearly as possible with those introduced in industry and the various services. In this way, agriculture will absorb a larger amount of industrial goods and require a better system of services. But at the same time, it will provide both industry and the services and the country as a whole with a type of products which, in quantity and quality, best meet the needs of the consumer and contribute to the stability of the purchasing power of money, a major consideration in the orderly development of the entire economic system. One advantage which would result from the adoption of this plan would be that it would be easier to keep track of the movement of the working force set free by the progressive modernization of agriculture. Facilities could then be provided for the training of such people for their new kind of work, and they would not be left without economic aid and the mental and spiritual assistance they need to ensure their proper integration in their new social milieu. In addition, a sound agricultural program is needed if public authority is to maintain an evenly balanced progress in the various branches of the economy. This must take into account tax policies, credit, social insurance, prices, the fostering of ancillary industries, and the adjustment of the structure of farming as a business enterprise. In the system of taxation based on justice and equity, it is fundamental that the burdens be proportioned to the capacity of the people contributing. But the common good also requires the public authorities, in assessing the amount of tax payable, take cognizance of the peculiar difficulties of farmers. They have to wait longer than most people for their returns, and these are exposed to greater hazards. Consequently, farmers find greater difficulty in obtaining the capital necessary to increase returns. For this reason, too, investors are more inclined to put their money in industry rather than agriculture. Farmers are unable to pay high rates of interest, Indeed, they cannot, as a rule, make the trading profit necessary to furnish capital for the conduct and development of their own business. It is therefore necessary, for reasons of the common good, for public authorities to evolve a special credit policy and to form credit banks which will guarantee such capital to farmers at a moderate rate of interest. In agriculture, the existence of two forms of insurance may be necessary, one concerned with agricultural produce, the other with the farm workers and their families. We realize that agricultural workers earn less per capita than workers in industry and services, but that is no reason why it should be considered socially just and equitable to set up systems of social insurance in which allowances granted to farm workers and their families are substantially lower than those payable to other classes of workers. Insurance programs that are established for the general public should not differ markedly, whatever be the economic sector in which the individuals work or their source of income. Systems of social insurance and social security can make a most effective contribution to the overall distribution of national income in accordance with the principles of justice and equity. They can, therefore, be instrumental in reducing imbalances between the different classes of citizens. Given the special nature of agricultural produce, modern economists must devise a suitable means of price protection. Ideally, such price protection should be enforced by the interested parties themselves, through supervision by the public authority cannot be altogether dispensed with. On the subject, it must not be forgotten that the price of agricultural produce represents, for the most part, the reward of the farmer's labor rather than a return on invested capital. Hence, in Quadragesimo Anno, Pope Pius XI rightly observed that a proper proportion between different wages is also a matter of importance. He continued, and intimately connected with this is a proper proportion between the prices charged for the products of the various economic groups, agricultural, industrial, and so forth. While it is true that the farm produce is mainly intended for the satisfaction of man's primary needs, and the price should therefore be within the means of all consumers, this cannot be used as an argument for keeping a section of the population, farm workers, in a permanent state of economic and social inferiority, depriving them of the wherewithal for a decent standard of living. This would be diametrically opposed to the common good. Moreover, the time has come to promote in agricultural regions the establishment of these industries and services which are concerned with the preservation, processing, and transportation of farm products. Enterprises related to other sectors of the economy might also be established there. In this case, the rural population would have another means of income at their disposal, a means which they could exploit in the social milieu to which they are accustomed. It's not possible to determine a priori what the structure of farm life should be, since rural conditions vary so much from place to place and from country to country throughout the world. But if we hold to a human and Christian concept of man and the family, we are bound of all to consider as an ideal the kind of farm which is owned and managed by the family. Every effort must be made in the prevailing circumstances to give effective encouragement to farming enterprises of this nature. But if the family farm is not to go bankrupt, it must make enough money to keep the family in a reasonable comfort. To ensure this, farmers must be given up-to-date instruction on the latest methods of cultivation. The assistance of experts must be put at their disposal. They should also form a flourishing system of cooperative undertakings and undertake themselves professionally to take an effective part in public life, both on the administrative and the political level. We are convinced that the farming community must take an active part in its own economic advancement, social progress, and cultural betterment. Those who live on the land can hardly fail to appreciate the nobility of the work that they are called upon to do. They are living in close harmony with nature, the majestic temple of creation. Their work has to do with the life of plants and animals, a life that is inexhaustible in its expression, inflexible in its laws, rich in allusions to God the Creator and Provider. They produce food for the support of human life, and the raw materials of industry, an ever richer supply.